Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Creemee Cast number 6. I'm live here with Bill Huff of Vermont campaign Get Real. Welcome, Bill.
Oh, thanks for having me, Paul. Enjoy being here. Glad to talk about it anytime.
Glad to have you on. We've been talking about doing this for a little while, and I'm sure this is the first. This isn't the last time we'll be doing this. I'm sure we'll have a few of these throughout the summer and throughout the political campaign season, but that's what we're here to talk about. What exactly are you up to, Bill? I know you've been going around to county chairs or county events and trying to give presentations on what exactly you're trying to accomplish, and love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the idea of Get Real is a campaign idea for a statewide unified Republican campaign for this campaign season. And once we got the idea, formulated, kind of smoothed the edges, and got something that was presentable, the idea was we needed to get that out internally to have Republicans buy into this idea first before we rolled out publicly. So yeah, I've been all over the state, Brattleboro, Manchester, Lyndonville, Grand Isle, Castleton, anywhere where I can get in and do a presentation in front of a county committee, town committees, anybody that'll have me, we get in and so I can talk about it and get that internal buy-in, like I said, so we're all on the same page this year.
So what exactly is the platform? What are you trying to so you say you're trying to build a statewide campaign coordinated between the Republican Party and all the candidates.
Yep.
What does that look like?
What does it look like? It's well, I can tell you, it's quite an effort.
Yeah.
To start with, to get everybody on the same page. So it's a message, but it's more than the message. It's actually I think rebuilding the Republican Party. It's unifying the Republican Party, and it's no secret that we've got our issues, as do the Democrats for sure.
Absolutely.
And there's different factions within our own party, and we try to avoid the Trump or no Trump or the right to life or the abortion issues. There's a whole host of things that, as human beings, we have basic wants, needs, and that's what the campaign addresses. For instance, we all want to feel like we can make ends meet,
sure,
like we can get by in this world. We all want to be feel safe in our own homes. We all want clean air and water. We want to have affordable housing.
Absolutely.
That's a huge issue these days. We all want good roads that are resilient to the weather that we have now.
Yeah.
And so that's what the campaign focuses on, are those things that don't necessarily resonate with a particular party, but resonates to everybody as human beings.
Absolutely. And I know, Bill, you have a little bit of a background in political campaigns, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, if that means I've run a few times, yes. if you consider that background, yeah. I've run for Senate seats now 3 times and a House seat once.
Well, as you know, I myself have run for state Senate once, and I did not win. However, that doesn't mean I still don't care, and I'm still not invested in trying to make a difference in the political game here in Vermont.
Well, and I appreciate you trying to do that. It's important.
It is.
It's important not just to you and I, but for every Vermonter. And if there's a year that we're feeling that pressure, it is this year.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Taxes, fees, overregulation, everything. It's like the folks in Montpelier just don't know when to quit. There's a limit, and I think Vermonters, on average, are reaching that breaking point. Something needs to be done.
Absolutely.
And so Get Real, the campaign, actually is an alternative path forward. Like I just said, we all have these basic wants, needs. So we all want to get to the same place, but it's how we get there that we're offering we think a better path forward to get to those same ideals, to those same goals.
Sure. No, and I think what I've heard so far about the campaign, it sounds like it's pretty good stuff. And I'd love to hear, I know that Get Real is like maybe an acronym,
yes,
perhaps?
absolutely.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. What are some of the outlined vision for Get Real?
So let's start with G. Like you said, it's an acronym. G stands for the Global Warming Solutions Act. And I'm not sure how many people listening to this broadcast realize that one of the provisions of the Global Warming Solutions Act is if this state doesn't meet greenhouse gas emission mandates, we're going to get sued. They allow third parties to sue us if we don't meet those greenhouse gas emission mandates.
Can you maybe expand on that a little bit? What do you mean third party? Who's going to sue us if we don't meet that? Just anybody or what?
Yep. So my vision is that there are dozens of lawyers in Massachusetts just waiting for us to not meet those mandates, and nobody thinks that we're going to, Paul. Left, right, center. The mandates are just aspirational. They're not reasonable. So nobody thinks we're going to make those mandates. And our tax dollars will be paid in judgments lining the pockets of Massachusetts lawyers when we lose the case. It's ridiculous. So
is it possible that it was designed like this? Do you think somebody maybe had some foresight that this is what maybe it could be a potential down the road?
Well, they did it intentionally, and the thought process behind it was, well, we're gonna force Vermonters to meet those mandates with the threat of a lawsuit. It's just unattainable. And the idea that, like I said, we're going to use taxpayer dollars to line the pockets of a Massachusetts lawyer, who's going to get on board with that? So Get Real, this campaign message says that, well, let's get rid of that lawsuit provision and return those mandates to goals. We all want clean air, clean water, a clean environment. Republicans care about that too. But there's a better path forward.
Absolutely.
Let's make those mandates goals, targets, and let's work towards those. But in the meantime, if we don't make them, how much sense does it make to turn over taxpayer dollars to a lawyer?
And for that matter, the goals that we're trying to reach seem to have a pretty tough economic impact on Vermonters, right? Especially rural Vermonters. And that's one thing I think that gets lost in the wayside of all this is, we do care about the environment. We all care about, like you say, clean air, clean water, clean soil, and clean food for that matter. But we can't think that the CO2 emissions that we're emitting here in Vermont is somehow going to save, if we somehow stop all tomorrow, that we're going to save the planet. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, I know we got a lot more to cover, so let's move on to the next letter.
Yeah, so E is for education, and Republicans want educational excellence from our students, and we don't have that now. Governor Scott, in his State of the State address at the beginning of the year, mentioned the fact that in Vermont, far too many educational dollars are spent on the administrative end of things and don't make it to the actual students. So that's a huge issue. We need to look at that administrative end of things and see where that can be streamlined to make it more efficient so that more dollars actually make it to the students. But we all know as well that student performance has been not good.
Abysmal.
Well, I was going to say that, Paul, and I thought, well, maybe that was too harsh.
Yes.
But
we don't want to be too harsh, by the way.
Well, and we used to be, I think, ranked about 4th nationally, and now we're somewhere mid-pack or below. And so the E for education, Republicans want to get the politics out of school. And it doesn't make any difference. Left politics, right politics, the schools have no place to inject our ideological values on students. That's not what school's meant to be. So we need to get back to the things that count, reading, writing, math, and science. Over the last few years, the left has, again, mandated certain non-core curriculum items that take up students' and teachers' time over the course of a day. And we need to get rid of those and get back to the basics, to improve scores. But when I say that, it's actually improving the lives of those students. A good education will give those kids, those people, a better chance in life later on when they grow up. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. That is what the education system is at the very least supposed to serve. Lambert Saldi writes, Paul and Bill, great fight and good work. And work. Get her done, Patriots. Get her done. Vote red, 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 red.
Hey, Bert, thanks for the comment.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We're glad to know we have some viewers.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's move to the next letter.
Sure. T in Get Real. T's for transportation. Just fix the roads.
Please. Please.
We all use the roads in the state, and this is something that could benefit everybody. Is taking the taxpayer dollars that are available for transportation uses in this state and spending them on bettering the roads. One of the legislators actually talked about providing funds locally, more locally, as a means to make our environment, our transportation system more climate resilient. And so what that means is, if dig our ditches deeper, wider,
yes,
preemptively put in larger culverts, raise bridges, whatever we need to do, rather than trying to change the world's climate by buying solar panels and filling up our pastures with glass. Let's spend the money where it can actually do some good for all of us.
Yeah.
The next time we get a heavy rain, and we certainly will, or runoff, make sure those ditches are able to handle it. Make sure the bridges are high enough so it doesn't flood. So,
absolutely.
And not only does it improve the lives of every Vermonter, but it creates jobs here locally too, rather than in China.
That's right. That's a very important point. And I will just note the one of those signs behind you. You got Route 12, which is the road that runs right through here in Northfield and to Montpelier.
Yeah.
I don't know which way you took to get here, but I suggest. Well, maybe I don't suggest, but if you get a chance, take Route 12 to Northfield at some point, back and forth to Montpelier. And if you think that we don't have a transportation issue here in Vermont or a road problem, I think pretty much everybody agrees about this.
Yeah.
But Route 12, it's being done this summer. I think they start tomorrow.
Oh,
thank goodness.
I did see the sign out here. Yeah, it's starting soon.
Thank goodness, because it needs to be done.
Yep.
But the roads, I couldn't agree with you more. That's one way we could have climate resiliency and to be prepared for increasing rainfall and I certainly think that's going to happen.
Yep,
So
absolutely. I think the solar panel thing, if somebody wants to do that on their own, that's great. But I think it's a little disingenuous to think that whatever we do here is going to have an impact on the global temperature. We're a pin on the face of the globe, and whatever we do, it's just virtue signaling.
it's hubristic is what it is.
Well, and it's coming at the expense of the middle class.
That's right.
Vermont is rapidly becoming unaffordable for even the middle class. Forget about the lower socioeconomic group. The middle class can't afford to live here anymore. So we are going to spend tax dollars. Let's do it wisely. Put it where it does the most benefit.
Absolutely. So we're about 15 minutes in here. And I know we want to go for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, so let's keep moving.
Keep rolling.
Absolutely.
R and Get Real is for regulatory reform. There are far too many impediments to building houses affordably in this state. Act 250 is one that comes to mind right off the bat. And Act 250 is 50 years old. There was an attempt to revamp or revise that in the last year, and rather than allowing for more construction with less regulation, they actually doubled down on the thing, and there's legislation in Montpelier right now that would double down again and make 90% of the state more problematic, more expensive to build housing. Again, back to the mandates. We've had so many things shoved down our throats here in the last few years. If you're building anywhere in Burlington, the mandates when it comes to new construction cost more money. And now, I heard the other day that the average home that is built by one of the housing administrations here in the state of Vermont now is $650,000 to build, and a good portion of that is in the permitting process, in the years that it takes to get these projects off the ground. If we're going to get serious about the housing crisis that we have here in this state, regulatory reform is something that needs to be addressed.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's something that we've been talking about for probably the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And everybody says we're going to do it. And by the way, in 2022, everybody that ran for office, they said, we're going to get more housing. We're going to build more housing. And it seems to me that the only way they think that they can do that is government subsidies and
throw more money
at it, which seems to be the solution to all the problems, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I say Get Real is an alternative path forward. We have a lot of the same goals, but rather than just throw money at it, we're going to offer some real solutions that don't cost everybody an arm and a leg.
Yes, and I think that's a whole conversation in itself. Why do they think that these are the only ways to solve problems? And we don't have to get into that right now, but we definitely should talk about that more in the future, because
another show.
Yeah, another show.
I'll come back.
All right. Let's keep moving. What's the next
Sure.
leg?
So the second E in Get Real is for the environment, and like I mentioned before, Republicans care about the environment too. But we've got a real issue in this state with our aging water, sewer treatment facilities. Yes. And I was glad to see that some federal funds just this last week were going to be dedicated towards upgrading a number of those facilities. But it's not enough. This green little state dumps hundreds of millions of gallons of raw and partially treated sewage in the Lake Champlain every year. And I think, again, that if people don't realize it or they choose to ignore it, but that's crazy. Why spend taxpayer dollars or even your own money to buy solar panels to try to change the world's climate when we're dumping that kind of stuff in Lake Champlain? Cleaning up Lake Champlain, putting our money into our own infrastructure betters the lives of every Vermonter, and it creates more jobs here in the state. It improves our economy. Just so many reasons to keep our tax dollars here at home and do what we need to do to make Vermont a cleaner state, cleaner environmentally for everybody.
And I think that's something that obviously matters to all of us in Vermont. That's one of the reasons why we all live here, right?
Yeah.
Is because it is clean.
Yeah.
But Lake Champlain increasingly is becoming less and less. And it seems to me, too, that like back in the 70s and 80s and maybe even the 90s, environmentalism was not as much about energy and controlling of energy as it was about actually cleaning up the pollution that's there, the literal pollution, not just carbon emissions, for example.
Right.
And that in it itself is a whole other podcast, too. But I think it's a really important thing to note. Like, there's a form of environmentalism that exists that's not just stop all CO2 emissions. That's one thing.
I think there's in the neighborhood of 100 invasive species in Lake Champlain, and the state as a whole has done such a poor job of the Lake Champlain cleanup that the feds have actually threatened to step in a couple of times and take it over and charge us. Just bill us for the work that they're going to do because we've done such a poor job cleaning up Lake Champlain. It's time we do this ourselves.
And it's embarrassing because, you look at the city of Burlington and, University of Vermont and everybody that's there, and they're all about the environment. Meanwhile, Lake Champlain, certain parts of the summer, you can't even swim in it. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty pitiful if you ask me.
Well, it is. And actually, I've got an idea to fix that again. And fodder for another whole show.
Sure.
And it's really out of the box thinking, but I think it would help on those things that you just mentioned.
Very cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, let's talk about it some other time. What's the next step?
So A is obviously affordability. The Get Real campaign was kind of fashioned after Governor Scott's three main ideas for his campaign this year: housing, safety, and affordability. Affordability issues are on a number of different levels. Act 127, which is the law that propagated the on average 20% increase in school tax rates this year that everybody knows about. But the 20% is on average. My hometown of Thetford taxes, the school tax rate was due to increase 46%. Ooh. And neighboring Norwich 40%.
My goodness. How can people afford that?
Well, you can't. Yeah. You can't. And Rebecca Holcomb, who is my state representative, was at a school meeting that I attended as well, and she told everybody there that you can expect that school tax rate to double in the next 5 years. That you talk about unsustainable. This is crazy. Like I said, the middle class is not going to be able to afford this. It's huge. So Act 127, my personal preference would be to see it repealed, but we absolutely have to revisit that school funding formula. S5 is another one, that clean heat standard that passed last year.
Yep.
We have yet to even begun to realize how much that's going to cost us. But Republicans this year, if we're going to campaign on affordability, we're going to say no new carbon taxes on home heating fuel in particular, but transportation fuels as well. A good part of this state is rural, and we depend on transportation to get our food, to go to the grocery store, to go to work, to get our kids to school, and that would just be an extra burden that is going to make Vermont that much more unaffordable.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what? So I know we're nearing the end of the acronym.
Yes.
So is it the last one we're at?
Yeah, L. But before I move on, one
Sure.
other thing on the affordability issue that I think is unique that we've never done in this state is to try to pass a taxpayers' bill of rights.
Okay.
So that's one of the ideas behind Get Real. And you think, well, that'll never happen in this state. We're far too liberal to do that. But I looked at Colorado, which again is another very blue state
Sure.
that did this years ago, and they were able to pass a taxpayer bill of rights that said that spending could not increase any faster than the rate of inflation plus or minus population growth. And they got it passed years ago, and it's been very successful in containing spending. So why shouldn't we try to do that here? I think it's a great idea. And if you're familiar with the Campaign for Vermont, that was actually one of the ideas that came from their survey that was done earlier this year. And 90% of the Republicans thought that taxpayer bill of rights was a good idea, but over 50% of the Democrats thought it was a great idea too.
Well,
they're getting tired of paying those high taxes.
I think that's what we're all starting to see is, like, once again, we all do agree on a lot of this stuff, right?
Yes.
We just don't agree necessarily on how to get there.
How to get there, yep.
And I think a lot of people are feeling the weight of what we're dealing with, and it is surprising to me, actually. I didn't know that 40%, 50% of Democrats are all also interested in a taxpayer bill of rights.
Over 50% in that Campaign for Vermont survey. Yeah, you bet. They're getting tired of paying the taxes too. And then L's law and order. We're going to support our police departments, our law enforcement associations, and we need to revisit this cash bail. The idea that we've got criminals, repeat criminals, that we continue to turn back on the streets is just crazy. It makes none of us any more safe. As a matter of fact, I heard just the other day that both Burlington and Rutland now are in the top 10 least safe cities per capita in the United States. We're on two cities now are on a top 10 list. In the Campaign for Vermont survey, I think 44% of Rutland residents didn't feel safe in their own home. In this little state of Vermont, that's just crazy. That's got to change.
It's unheard of.
Well, yeah, and there has to be consequences for criminals that use a gun in a crime or commit a felony, or they're repeat offenders. And I from what I hear, that's a lot of the issues is we've got a handful of people that could care less about the law, and then there's repeat thefts, murders, whatever.
Well, we all hear stories of people, say in Burlington, for example, where they've had hundreds of run-ins with the police, and somehow they're still out on the streets and they aren't being prosecuted. And people around the state and actually around the country, this is true, know this, and that's attracting people to the city of Burlington, for example.
Yeah.
And that's pretty concerning, to say the least.
Yeah.
I hope that we can maybe do something about that. And
I do too. And that's the whole idea behind Get Real, is Get Real is going to appeal not just to the people on the right, but people in the center and even on the left. it relates to issues that are of a concern to everybody in this state.
Absolutely. And I think today of all days is the Eclipse, right? And it's a big deal here in Vermont. There's like apparently hundreds of thousands of people here. And actually, if I'm looking at the road right now, I do see a lot more cars than I usually do. And some say that the Eclipse is a sign of renewal.
Yeah.
A sign of renewal. And the last one was, 1932, I believe. That's about... Oh, don't get me on math right now. How many years ago was that? 90 years?
Yeah, 87, 85.
80 something?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, maybe this is a chance. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, maybe this is a chance for renewal here in Vermont. And I think there's a lot of people that are feeling the weight, like I mentioned earlier. Yep. And everybody's hungry for change, and everybody's hungry for something new. And I think that what we're trying to do with Get Real and what you're trying to push is really impressive, and the work that you've already put out is also very impressive. You know, you're going from county committee to county committee, giving presentations for candidates that you don't even have yet. You know, and I think that's going to bring a lot of people on board, because people are starting to see, you know, wait a second, we got to do something. And there's been no apparatus within the Republican Party for probably the last 20 years to catch that, oh, we got to do something, right? There's been nowhere to put that energy. And what you've been doing and what you're continuing to do, I really do think is going to make some big difference. And
well, I hope so, Paul, and I appreciate your comments.
Absolutely.
But I'm not a one-man show.
No, you are not.
There's a whole bunch of us behind this thing. Love to see more people behind it and help us out. We're constantly looking for more help to get the message out. But it is important, and people, you're right, people are looking for solutions, looking for that path forward. And Get Real is at least a beginning down that path. It'll be to actually fix some of our problems, our issues, and do it without just throwing money at it.
Well, that's what's important. And I hope that as we go forward here, and you know, you'll come on maybe in a month or so, right?
Sure.
And maybe you'll be saying to me, you know, Paul, we've really brought on a lot more candidates. People are really excited about this.
And that is the big thing right now is candidates, and we would love to see more candidates get on as a Republican and get behind this message. In order to accomplish what we'd like to do, we need legislative majorities.
Yes.
And that starts with candidates. And so that is a big concentration right now, is finding those people that are willing to run, hopefully behind this Get Real message, because it is a message that resonates with you know, across party lines. And so that, if anybody is thinking that they might want to do that, please reach out to me or you, or anybody that's involved in Republican politics, and we'll show you how to get started.
Yeah, and just a quick pitch to anybody out there who is watching and maybe you're thinking about it and you need a little nudge. There are resources. We're really making a push to make this happen, and there seems like there's a lot of people that want to do something, but they don't even know where to get started. And you can get started by contacting us. My information, you know, you can reach out to me on any of my social medias. Bill, how can people get in contact with you?
I'm on Facebook. The Orange County GOP committee, I'm the chair, has a Facebook page. I'm in a number of the phone books. chugluggskipper@gmail.com. You can email me. Reach
out to the VTGOP social medias. Reach out to their emails. You can contact Paul Dame. There's a lot of people working to make this happen, and we're it's seeming like we're building a little bit of unity, and we're kind of excited about that, and we hope more people are. So, you have any finishing thoughts, Bill?
No, I just want to thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you for coming.
And I'd love to hear comments, feedback from folks. We're on social media here now. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you'd like to join us.
Sure.
And be part of that group that spreads this message all over the state.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bill, for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for watching. This has been a Bean Studios production. I hope you've enjoyed.